Mr. Grailing Jones. Grailing, I remember that you led some great conversations and offered some keen insights during our recap prep session. Can you briefly share your thoughts on what are the major barriers for creating inclusion in the number of CDL holders?
Thank you very much. I think that if I had to boil it down to one thing, it would be lack of awareness of what the reality is in terms of more specific, a career or small business opportunity as a CDL holder, a driver. People really don't have a full grasp on what that can do for them, especially with the millennials, individuals that are looking to fund additional dreams beyond their first job or second job. A career as a CDL driver, individuals can, fund those dreams. So I really think it's a lack of awareness of reality.
And how would you unlock the great potential of having more inclusive driving forces? How should that be done?
I know that it should be done by collaborating with other stakeholders such as community colleges, churches, nonprofits, workforce development, and to work with those entities to train their coaches so that they can better articulate the advantages of having this skill set as you move forward in your professional life.
Thank you, Grailing. Why don't you just go ahead with your presentation?
Excellent. Again, my name is Grailing Jones. I'm the Director of Schneider Employment Network Development, and my role with the organization is to develop hiring models across our network for our field recruiters so that we can source CDL drivers. The presentation is going to be based on a best practice of hiring a diverse and inclusive workforce by developing models. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on a particular model that I put in play for a field recruiter that was responsible for the greater Memphis workforce area to build a network so that we could collaborate with them to have a Schneider-specific hiring event, not a job fair, but a hiring event. So I'd like to have you switch to the first slide, or the second slide there. When I joined the organization 38 years ago as a supervisor of 50 drivers, we only had about maybe two African-American drivers amongst all of the drivers. And most of the drivers, were the typical, as you would imagine, drivers of the time. And you saw those, or that individual in the last slide. But what happened is that we developed a strategy and a vision of working with the workforce innovation boards so that we could work with them to create awareness about the available CDL careers that pay. Some people don't realize it. They pay $75,000 and greater in the first year, and individuals that own their own small unit, they may make $200,000, and that can be done. The other thing is that, individuals we found should be vetted, meaning selecting the right clients. With our organization, we hire individuals starting at age 21. And a lot of industries or a lot of transportation companies do that are self-funded. And some individuals don't realize that. And 38 years ago, and I just heard the last speaker talk about women in transportation, at that time, 38 years ago, probably less than 1% of our driver force were female drivers. Now it's 15 and up as far as a percentage-wise. And what we wanted to do is focus on how do we find funding for individuals? How do we find dollars to train individuals with this skill? And when I say train individuals, I'm talking about using the workforce innovation dollars that are available, and employer training dollars, And a lot of large employers, they even have a reimbursement program or even a forgiveness program. And being a military veteran, I want to tell you that I have a soft spot for our men and women that are serving. And it's a great opportunity in our industry because with our industry, they can have a career that they can put on hold while they're called back to active duty, or else they can use their GI Bill to earn a third paycheck if that employer has a military employment apprenticeship program. And the other thing is that the CDL training options, a lot of individuals don't realize that a lot of community colleges have programs. There are some good for-profit schools. And, you know, when you do that, you need to line yourselves with, and I'm kind of biased because I've been with our organization 30 years, but you need to be with a company that has a vision for a career path for you. So at the end of the training, it's not train and pray, it's train and employment. Next slide, please. Our mission was to train the client coaches about the careers in transportation. You know, we realize that, you know, workforce, they're trying to understand all of the industry clusters, but it's kind of difficult to do that. But we found a real success is when we actually go in and train individuals to have reality about what these careers could mean. And I'll give you an example. A lot of individuals that I've talked to in terms of barriers say, well, I can't drive a manual transmission, let alone a big truck. Well, the industry, from a technology standpoint, you know, they're going towards automatics. And automatics, you know, are not just for individuals that don't know how to understand manual transmissions, but I look at myself as a baby boomer. You know, I'd rather drive an automatic transmission than a manual because of my physical, you know, ability. So the other thing is that the mission was to create awareness about these careers. There's a lack of awareness, and the last speaker talked about youth engagement. That is the right way to go because not only are you going to build your pipeline, but you're also going to have a young man or a young woman go home and explain to their parents that, hey, here's a career that maybe you should take a look at, Mom or Dad, because it can really help our family out today. When we talk about outreach, I've been advocating working with churches, community colleges, workforce, military, NAACP, anyone that has a network with people that need careers. And vetting these individuals, again, is crucial. You know, without that, you know, you don't have anything. The funding and being able to replicate this process is definitely key when you can do it over and over again so it's not a one-time shot in the arm. Next slide. Next slide, please. In this slide, you see our recruiter, and what he's doing is he's actually training the career coaches on the aspects of our business. I was fortunate in this case. I had a recruiter that just happened to be an African-American recruiter, and he's explaining not that you have to have an African-American to talk to African-Americans, but you know what we found is when you can see a diverse hiring mechanism, you are going to definitely put yourself closer to that population that could use those careers. Slide 5. Next slide, please. Collaboration with the workforce so that you can put a joint effort together. This is an example of a flyer that was put together. And if you know, in our model, if you align yourself with a specific employer, then they can come to bear their entire marketing department. So it's not a job fair, not a call, it's a hiring event. And that's exactly what we did in this case. But more important is that now when you have a flyer, and it's amazing when you go around, and I poke fun at being a baby boomer, but when you take a look at the people that are online, we have a lot of online opportunities for individuals to take a look at our company. So all of our flyers we actually send out so that we can prep the community with the event prior to the event. Next slide, please. In this picture, you see, individuals that have gone through the explanation of what careers could provide. In the top left picture is a very decorated Schneider driver. In the middle, that gentleman in the middle next to the guy in blue represent a community college, and then our trainers to the right there. And getting the buy-off at the workforce at the highest level is important, and that individual is in the truck. When you go to the right there, where you have 4 young ladies, one behind the wheel, any one of these individuals in today's industry could be a driver for us, or a small business owner-operator. And the young lady with her thumb up, poking her head out, interesting is that her mother is a driver, and her dream is to be a small business owner-operator with a company like ours. So next slide. In this picture is a collage of the workforce, which is the top right picture. They're explaining to a vetted group of individuals. Then right to the left of that is a community college, both of those shots. And then what we've done is that we have brought in reputable schools and community colleges so that these individuals are able to hear and see the equipment, and then take that and go right over to the workforce, find out what funding is available, and then at that point go right over to a specific school and start their career path so that they can get into the industry. I think I've got one more slide. When we talk about results, it's not just the numbers of that event. I mean, you're going to have something that you can do over and over again. You're going to have something where you can train individuals so that they are aware and they're equipped to explain to individuals, okay, this is what you could do, and here's reality, and this is what you can make. One of my favorite things that I constantly preach is that with the number of individuals retiring out of our industry, we are at a crisis mode. I am the chair of the Illinois Workforce on CDL shortages for the state of Illinois, and I'm going to tell you that our company is not alone, and there are plenty of great opportunities. And I think the last slide, I've got one more. The event that we put on is being replicated across our network. The gentleman, I'm standing there with the case in my hand, talking with the director of the greater Memphis workforce, and we had our unit there, and our trainer, excuse me, not trainer, but our field recruiter is standing there, and he lives in the community, and he is set meetings up with them on a quarterly basis to do outreach. And so this is the type of model that we put in play, and I've asked our field recruiters to be transformers, if you will, to transform the job fairs to hiring events. And I have to apologize because I get kind of excited when I start talking about this stuff, but that's all I've got.
Thank you, Grailing, so much. And I love how you put that. It's not a job fair, it's a hiring event. So when you look at the terms of CDL holders, in your opinion, what can be done in the next 90 days to increase diversity?
I would say in the next 90 days, and I know I had some answers that I had put together, but I had to rethink that. And if I was talking to workforce, I would tell them to take a look at what companies that are in your region that have driving jobs. Reach out and talk with them, and I guarantee you that a lot of the initiatives then will all of a sudden be employer-led once you contact them. I would also say that, don't discount the church networks that are across in different communities. You should reach out to them to let them know that these jobs are available. But reaching out to your local companies that have these type of careers, you'll get the straight scoop on careers and small business opportunities that are available.
Thank you, Grailing. And again, some excellent stories and insights of partnerships at work with some huge payoffs. Thank you again. Crafting their questions. I do see a question for Todd and Grailing. Do you see trucking jobs as a good fit for tribal community members who live in the very rural areas of the U.S.? Grailing,
I'm going to let you go first, Todd. I'll let you go first, Todd.
Okay, thanks, Grailing. Yeah, I think within the it's a two-part answer from the tribal standpoint as I see it. First part, certified as CDL within the transportation industry for tribal transportation departments, getting that training and certification to be able to internally, move and relocate assets and equipment is important, but then that leads to the opportunity outside of the tribal community within the trucking industry, and it ties into other programs within the tribes. If there's a housing program, to be able to develop that workforce and assets through trucking and getting a job in the workforce in trucking that gives them the ability to have the financial means to, say, go through their housing program, whether it's a rental program or purchasing on a reservation. Without that, those opportunities are pretty far and few in between. So.
Okay. First of all, to answer your question, definitely. And I'm going to tell you, when I heard that Todd said there was 226 tribes in Alaska, my mouth dropped open because I'm out of Green Bay, Wisconsin. And I'm going to tell you that the industry is in such a dire need of individuals that we have programs at our company where we have individuals that are hired in Alaska, and they'll run the 48 for 3 weeks, and then we pay for them to fly back home for a week. That's how dire things are. And Todd, we'll be talking.
Yeah, to Grailing, to follow up with that, there's, that 3 week on, 1 week off is, in Alaska anyway, with the oil fields, a lot of people are used to working that schedule. And even within Alaska, there's great needs. The issue that we come across is training that's sensitive to the cultural needs, because a lot of those very remote communities, when you bring the members for training in a setting that they're not used to, it's a challenge that they have to overcome, which they're more than capable of doing. It's just that thought process needs to be taken into account. And again, we can talk offline more on that, but I believe in all tribal communities there's large opportunities within the industry like that for trucking.
Awesome.
A great question and great answers. It shows a true linkage between both of your presentations.